Hello and welcome to Sim.bc, where right now is 0000. Yes, it is in the middle of the night. We're doing some Sim.bc day 1 shenanigans. Why? Well, because I'm having a bit of a fun anecdote before I'm going into today's video. What, you may ask? Well, yeah, today actually. Yesterday it is, because it just became yesterday. Yesterday, the 2nd of January, I recorded a bit of a video in the morning, early morning, around 2:30, somewhere around there. The only problem with, being on time, so to say, is that I'm having this horrendous, badly bad internet. And that, as all of you know, is not something new. However, how bad it actually is something new. It took me, honestly, no exaggeration, it took me 12 hours to upload yesterday's video. I started at around 4 o'clock in the morning, to be fair, right? I probably started a bit earlier, but let's say 4 o'clock, because it's a nice round number, right? Instead of 3:54, I started at around 4 in the morning. Now, it didn't upload until around 4 or 4:30 in the afternoon, an entire day after I started uploading the video. So if you're wondering why this shenanigans, why are you doing this shenanigans, why are you sitting here in the middle of the night or in the very early morning and recording, well, there you go, there you have your answer. I have little choice, because otherwise I won't get them out in time, right? Because then I need to use me phone's, internet and data, and then I will be out of data on my phone, and that would just be a temporary solution, so I'm saving that one, mates, for the crisis situations. But yeah, we're around 00:00. We're around middle of the night, 12 in the middle of the evening, so it's in the middle of the very night. But yeah, let's move into now, but that's not why you're here now, is it? No, you're here because we're going to move on from yesterday's video, right? Yesterday, when I sat there and I looked through all of your comments, right? Lovely that you leave comments and join in on the discussion, right? On what the previous 3 main videos that we have been discussing: clothing, purchasing power, dress codes, and branding. And we moved into the big blur that I saw that, oh, I missed this aspect entirely. And what aspect is that, you may ask? Well, that is the aspect of the social media picture. And I found a term that reflects, so to say, it's going to be a pun in a while, reflects the general consensus of the articles that I looked at when kind of researching this topic in order to get a feel for the general view. And this term was negative mirroring, hence reflection being the pun. I know, I'm like the funniest guy in the world. Because I thought that negative mirroring is quite a good term for reflecting, as I said, the general view that most people tend to have when they view the social media. Because when most people view the social media, they're thinking, oh, it's these body types that are unattainable, they are these fashionable styles that are way too expensive, there are all of these things that are marketed towards me as a person that I just can't identify with. Or rather, the problem is, according to my research, that I do identify with it, but I can't attain it. Now, why is that the problem? Well, if that wasn't an easy one for you, mate, I don't really know what's easy for you. Because basically the idea is that many people tend to identify, or rather, align their interests, their beliefs, their behavior with a certain person online, with a certain person that they're following, with a certain media page, with a certain commercial. They might get so many inputs that they quite don't really know who they're actually following, but so they anchor that to a specific person online. Why this is a problem is because some, marketing tends to have the view of thinner is better, which leads to some Fitspo people, boiling up. Some people are following other people, and this person who didn't actually think that I was going to get followers, all of a sudden have thousands and thousands of people following that person, because all of these people, they have been watching the commercials like you should be thin, you should be working out, you should be having all of these good fashionable choices in your life, you should do all of them good stuff, right? Right, of course you should, according to the commercials then. So all of these people, in order to anchor these beliefs and this mentality and this way of thinking to something, they anchor it to a specific person, which leads them to just gaining all the views or gaining all them subscribers or followers or whatever it is on that platform. But people tend, since we have such an online based community, right, and the media is in there, we all can, and the social media as well, I would like to add, we're all online and we can all view other people, which means that we can follow other people, which in turn leads to this one person perhaps saying that, well, I just thought that I had a kind of good ideology, a kind of good way of living, a good way of thinking, and now all of these people are anchoring their beliefs to me, which leads me to gain, popularity, and now I have to think about what I'm actually saying, because that could have a positive or negative impact on lots of people. Now, I would not tend to agree that that's how you should think. You should be your own person, if people tend to, follow you, that's their problem, so to say, depending on what you say or not. But that's an entire discussion for another time. But what I meant by this is that all of these people have seen commercials, right? And these might be, well, let's take the worst possible scenario, right? The scenario where you actually cannot criticize people. Let's say that there is someone who is chronically sick, and with that I mean chronically someone who is sick all the time. They can't move because they're always in pain, in some sort of pain. They might not be in a lot of pain, but the pain all the time. It's something that they cannot live without. They can't think outside this, because this is always a constant chronological pain, so to say. Chronic pain is probably the right terminology there. So let's say that there's someone watching a commercial at home. They're having chronic pain issues. They can't really go outside and exercise as much as they want to. They can't eat what they want because the diet don't allow that, because in order to best deal with this chronic pain, you need to be on a certain diet, right? And you need to sit still for the most of the day. And then you view this commercial where there's all these lovely people running around on a beach, and for you that is an unattainable body language. No, but that's an entirely unattainable ideal body structure. You cannot physically attain that whilst maintaining your good living standard. Now, I know that that is also the case for people who is just not caring about going out exercising and actually taking on a diet in order to fulfill this, but let's stick with the one example that I established. So this person, right, is thinking, I'm looking at all of these people on the commercials, and I'm getting quite, not depressed, I wouldn't say, maybe, I haven't been in that situation myself, I have not been in that situation myself, but some people might be looking at the TV screen and say, well, I've got all these marketing stuff, and I just cannot attain that. That is just not feasible for me personally, which can lead to a negative impact of the commercial on you. Now, why am I taking up ideologies and ways of living and the body image? Well, because hand in hand with body image, a positive or a negative one, comes fashion. And if you say that, oh, you're looking at all of these people running around on the beach, and you're saying, oh, I want to wear that because they're wearing some clothes, right? And you say, I want to wear that type of clothing that they have in the commercial. You go out and you buy it, but unfortunately you don't have the same body shape, so it doesn't fit as well on you, which leads to a negative impact on your own body, which leads to a negative impact of yourself, can hurt your self-esteem, and that is just, overall not such a good thing. I know that we're getting into psychology and lots about body shapes, but just bear with me. And that is not their fault, right? They can't do anything about this because they're having this chronic issue. However, on the other hand, we have all of these people who is perfectly healthy, looking at the same commercials and saying exactly the same, not saying the same thing because of the same reasons as the previous example, but they're saying the same things because, well, they just can't be asked. I'm watching this person running around on the beaches of the Maldives, and I'm saying, I want to be like that, but simultaneously I'm chugging a bag of chips. Now, does that go hand in hand, that ideology, with that view of criticizing people in marketing? I wouldn't say that it does. Do I go to the gym in order to try and negate this effect? Or not to the gym, actually. Do I just exercise regularly in my daily life? If I do not, well, do I have the ability to actually criticize or do I not? I know this is about fashion, but then you can say as well as this person sitting there chugging chips, watching the commercial and say, I'm gonna go out and buy that piece of clothing, just as the previous example with the chronic pain issues did. However, when you buy this clothes, you will still criticize the company because it didn't look as good as on you as it did in the commercial, which yet again leads to this, negative impact of yourself, of the brand, your negative views on your self-esteem. Unfortunately, that stems from, you viewed someone wearing a piece of clothing in a better way than you have. However, in my opinion, if you do not have a medical reason for why you cannot exercise and eat in a certain way in order to attain this body shape, well, then you only have yourself to blame, right? But the problem is that most people do not think so. Most people say that I am, a person I shouldn't be forced to work out in order to gain this body shape. Instead, the commercials should change and represent what is the average body size on the market, or the body shape on the market. What is the average world citizen look like? Now, one could argue that since there is such a big rift in poverty and richness, that some people are extremely thin and some people are extremely fat, and that commercials are actually somewhere in between. I read that argument as well, even though that's a bit extreme way of viewing it. Perhaps you should keep it to the boundaries of your own country, but yet again, that's another discussion for another time. But when you're moving into the social media world, now after establishing this way of thinking, you're getting bombarded with this all the time. You mean, back in the past, right? And when I'm saying the past, I don't mean thousands of years, right? I mean easily 20 years. 20 years back, you didn't have the same amount of marketing done through the internet. The internet wasn't actually that much of a thing back in the day. Of course it was, but not the way we view it now, on our smartphones and stuff. No, but today, when you're viewing marketing all the time and you're seeing these different body shapes and the different fashionable styles, and you're just getting bombarded with ideas all the time about how you're supposed to look, how you are supposed to dress, and you just don't. That leads to a negative impact. And also, if you do, as we discussed in yesterday's video, and this is kind of building also, you should have watched that before watching this, otherwise this might not make that much sense. If you do that, you will just find yourself in this circle of, I'm buying what I think is good looking, and then isn't, or it is, but then that's dirty and I don't have it anymore. So when I actually wake up in the morning, I need to wear something else, and since I don't wear this new fashionable piece of clothing that actually fits me, I'm back at where I started with, I have nothing to wear and this is bad and I'm low self-esteem and all of that. So overall, the consensus that I found when reading these articles, right, is that the social media is a negative mirror, which basically means that however you view it, you're going to, in some way or fashion, going to be impacted negatively yourself, either because you are comparing yourself to someone else online, and that was an extremely new, or it was on the rise, I'd say. It was extremely usual for people to do just that they're, especially when you're in your teens, and which was kind of what this article, or these articles rather, were focusing on, and especially this one that mentioned this terminology, the negative mirroring, said that most people today, most teens today, tend to view themselves in relation to others, which tend to have a negative impact on themselves because they care more about likes, comments, and shares than, sharing a picture, not shares in a company. All the business jokes. Instead of what they actually look like. It went that far, actually, so that some people said when they received the compliment of saying, "You're perfect the way you are," they just naturally thought, well, what's wrong with me? Why did you have to say just the way you are? Why couldn't you just say, you're beautiful? Why did you need to state, you're beautiful the way you are? Is there something wrong with me that I should consider? And, well, in the article, they kind of blame this on the social media picture and the way that people are dressing, the body shapes, and the negative impact. I feel like this is moving in way more about what is the media's impact on society, which wasn't the case when I started this. But in order to round myself off here, but no, I'm not actually, I'm going to mention a few things more. Editing is the love. So we have these people who are constantly comparing themselves with other people. We have the people who have no, I should add as well, who have no reason to do that. The second example that I mentioned. Then we have the first example that I mentioned, people who are viewing other people and they are comparing themselves to others, even though they can't do anything about it because they have this chronic issue. They have this medical term to why they cannot, but still they do it, and that tends to, well, not help their well-being. And then we have the third view of people who are just getting overwhelmed with things, so they anchor themselves to someone else and then they blame that person, which was kind of what I wanted to say in the beginning, even though these people weren't official people, so to say, when they began their page, their channel, their whatever, on whatever page they were, but people have anchored their beliefs in comparison to this person. So when this person is doing something that is outstanding, something that is completely wrong, people are blaming that person for saying that, well, I put my faith in you and you messed up, not me, but still I'm sad about it. So this negative mirroring impact had a lot to do with the well-being of people, and they also actually in the article, even though I haven't touched upon it that much, discussed the idea that clothing is a huge impact on this as well. The idea that it helps the capitalistic market, that you're buying new things all the time because you're supposed to look good, and you're buying new things in order to raise your self-esteem when your self-esteem gets low because of the different body shapes that you don't feel represented by. Woo! If I left anything out there, please mention it in the comments below. I hope that wasn't too rambly. I was me reviewing about 12 articles that I read today, so you know, still having it all up in me head. Might do a revised version of this one in the future, and it's, you know, in the middle of the night. I can come up with all the excuses, mates. But yeah, having a bit of a fun video coming out on Saturday as well, I think, covering some of the recent controversies that has begun, even though it's just the beginning of the year, concerning Logan Paul. Yes, indeed, gonna be a bit of a news thing, right? So yeah, see you tomorrow, mates. Have a nice one. Hope this wasn't too rambling. Leave your comments in the comment section below and join in on the discussion. What did you think I did right? What did you think I did wrong? So we can incorporate this into the scripted video that is to come. I have not forgot it. Have a nice one, mates. See you.